Welcome to Trashmagination, a podcast about reimagining trash. I'm Carla Brown. Today's episode is about creative reuse of small plastic toys. Now, unfortunately, many families have too many small plastic, cheaply made toys, often from kids' meals at restaurants or from visits to the dentist's office. According to one of the sources that I'll talk about later in this episode, 90% of toys today are made from plastic, and 80% of those toys end up in landfill or the ocean. It's easy to forget that plastic is made from crude oil. While it's amazing how plastic allows people to design just about anything, the truth is that we are being very wasteful with this non-renewable resource. The best choice is not to buy any new plastic toys, and this is particularly true as we head into the holiday season. In my community, there are boxes where people put donated holiday toys, and most of those are made from plastic. But kids are aware of the long-term impact of plastic, and surely it creates discomfort in their hearts when they receive plastic gifts from people who they love and trust, while also learning about the impact of plastic. So this holiday season, it would be awesome if we could set a goal of not buying plastic toys, and if you really want to give them, to only give secondhand ones. So in this episode, I'm focusing on small plastic toys, meaning toys you can hold in one hand. Larger toys are usually easier to give away if they are not broken, whether that is giving it to other families, to charity shops, or through an online community like Buy Nothing. But smaller toys can be more challenging to give away. Our family has given away our small plastic toys through a few methods. The first is at community fairs, and the other is on Halloween night. So our family volunteers every July at a festival called Obon, which always has a children's area with prizes. I bring over a bag filled with clean toys in good condition to put in the prize bucket. And likewise, on Halloween night, we offer a bucket with small toys, which is especially helpful to families where someone has dietary restrictions. I even post a small sign on our porch saying that we are offering toys in case a family member has allergies. One way that I hope to creatively reuse toys in the future is through fidget quilts. So these are lap-sized quilts that can be given to someone with dementia. You attach many items with many textures to the quilts. So then the people will play with these items instead of hurting themselves, like scratching their face or pulling on their hair. And toys can be attached very securely to the quilts with a cord, and one activity is for the recipient to slip the toy in and out of a pocket, for example. For broken toys, it is more challenging to find a way to creatively reuse them. Sometimes components are interesting, and they might form part of an art project. But if the plastic is sharp, very few municipal recycling programs take plastic toys because they're usually made from different types of plastics mixed together, or they're combined with metal or fabric. So before you put any broken plastic toys in your recycling bin, be sure to check with your local recycling program's rules. Another idea for toys that are not broken is to mail them to a company in Toronto, Canada called Tiny Toy Co. Tiny Toy Co. can even accept plastic toy components. Like, for example, if you have a little plastic shoe that doesn't have a pair. They sort the toys into educational activities or into goodie bags for parties. The company was created by Rebecca Saha, and she is a teacher librarian and an expert in emergent literacy, which means a child's knowledge of reading and writing skills before they learn how to read and write words. As they say on their website, we can tackle toy waste and create literacy instead of litter. So you could ship your unwanted plastic toys to the Tiny Toy Co. right now, but another idea is to recreate some of the things that they make in your own community. So I'm going to describe some of the things that they make, and you could take a listen and see if that helps you, inspires you to do something near you. So they have boxes filled with toys to help people learn their numbers, their letters, colors, or shapes. So they put a variety of objects in the box, and they also put in flashcards. And for colors, they use the plastic caps from markers as well. They make activity sets filled with toys that represent objects that are words that preschoolers are learning how to sight read. And one of my favorite kits that they make is called Connect the Thoughts, and it contains objects which the student can group into any kind of pair as long as they can explain why they made it a pair. And what I love about that kit is that the answers can be quite open-ended. So maybe the objects rhyme, or they are the same shape, or they have the same number of legs, or they both start with W, or they are both mammals, whatever. There's so many ways that kids can group objects, and it just gets them to think creatively and non-linearly. They next have kits that represent certain sounds in language. So, for example, they have a kit maybe with S blends, which are words that start with S and another consonant. So like SL, SP, SN, SC, SK, ST, all those. And this reminds me of when I wanted to make a gift for my friend Laura. She was a new speech pathologist. So I researched sounds that are often difficult for people to pronounce, and I made laminated photo cards with those words so Laura could use them with her clients. And the funny story about that is that I put in a photo of a typewriter, and the kids kept calling it a keyboard, so it really did not help them practice the right sounds after all. Tiny Toy Co. also makes matching and memory games, and then they also combine donations to make sets of things like K'NEX, Lego, Duplo, Jenga, Play-Doh, Playmobil, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Tiny Toy Co. offers workshops where you can make crafts from tiny toys. So, for example, right now they are making ornaments from Scrabble tiles. People will spell their name in tiles on those little wooden holders that come in the Scrabble game, and then they will glue it down and add a ribbon, and they have a personalized ornament. And other times of year, they make terrariums with little scenes, and there's little plastic toys in there acting out the scenes. And they also have toy sorting events for volunteers, which sounds really fun. Tiny Toy Co. offers toys that you can put into birthday party loot bags if you don't own any yourself, or you can put them in piñatas. And they just published a video about upcycling plastic toys for special occasions. And for example, they recommend attaching a label on the toys which talks about regifting and about how kids care about the environment. And one thing I really love about that video is I get to see how Rebecca organizes her workspace for when she's sorting the donated toys into her activity kits. Something I love about Tiny Toy Co.'s Instagram feed is that they share photos of donated toys that they don't really recognize. They don't know what you're supposed to do with them. And they have this game called WTF, or What's This For? And they ask the people on Instagram to identify the toy. And I also love that they will make custom toy collections by request. So, for example, a few months ago, they received a request to make a collection of all villain toys. If it sounds daunting to ship your tiny toys to the Tiny Toy Co., you could also see if there is a creative reuse store in your area. I've talked about those before. You know how much I love them. These are like secondhand stores for craft supplies, and many of those will also take tiny toys to incorporate into art projects. So next I'm going to talk about artists and social activists who work with small plastic toys. The first is Hiroshi Fuji. Hiroshi has had a number of exhibits called Jurassic Plastic, and they have been shown in Australia and Japan and Thailand. Jurassic Plastic included these huge dinosaur sculptures that he built called Toysaurus. They were about 4 or 5 feet tall, each of them, and they were made by hundreds of little plastic toys. He also would build a plastic swamp where kids could rummage through toys, as well as a tinker space where kids could transform toys into other things. And he would teach workshops about how to make sculptures from plastic toys. The exhibit incorporated about 50,000 toys. So the question is, how did Hiroshi collect all of those toys? So almost 20 years ago, when his kids were small and he was starting to feel overwhelmed by their plastic toys, he started a barter community called kaeko, which in Japanese means swapsies. And the way people would exchange items, they would have events called kaeko bazaars. And kids would bring their unwanted items, which were often plastic toys. And there would then be bankers at the events who were also children. And they would assess the value of the items that people brought. And then the kids would earn kaeru points, which Hiroshi called an international children's currency. Now, the word kaeru means both to exchange and frog. So the program has a frog as its mascot. You could also earn kaeru points by attending workshops that were part of the event, and these workshops might teach them skills like how to creatively reuse plastic bags or whatever skills that the local people wanted to teach. Now, there have been thousands of kaeko bazaars all over the world in that time, and at these events, Hiroshi would go and he would often get plastic toys, and that's how he managed to do this huge exhibit. So I'm going to share some resources in the show notes about these bazaars, including how to do it, and also a wonderful report called An Overview of Art Projects in Japan that uses this as a case study. So I read an interview with Hiroshi where he talked about how he wishes that actually he could make art from something other than plastic. He said, "There are times I wish I could use materials like wood, fabric, and even soil in my works. But today, plastic is much more available. We have to admit we live in a world full of plastic." He explained that the actual artwork is not what is important to him as much as seeing adults and kids interact to transform the plastic and to discuss environmental issues in a creative way. The next artist is Margaux Lange, who makes jewelry from Barbies, mostly from their eyes, ears, and mouths, as well as their hands, feet, butts, and busts. She combines the Barbie components with sterling silver, precious stones, and resin to make necklaces, rings, and bracelets. If you have ever worked or volunteered in a secondhand store, then you know there are a lot of Barbies donated, and usually they are naked and their hair looks terrible. And at some places that I have volunteered, there were other volunteers who just loved dolls, and they would rehabilitate the donated Barbies by fixing their hair and making them new clothes. But unfortunately, most Barbies do not get that special treatment. So Margaux attended an art school near me called the Maryland Institute College of Art, or MICA. And in the show notes, I'll share a video that shows how she dissects a Barbie to make her work. And recently, I was moved by a series of pieces that Margaux shared. They represent a mother and child, and she notes on her Facebook page that these pieces were inspired by her own daughter, who has complex medical needs and who has had multiple head surgeries. The next artist who works with dolls is Freya Jobbins, and she makes assemblages, meaning sculptures made from many parts joined together. She uses both Barbie-style dolls and baby dolls. Freya's pieces are very detailed. They involve hundreds of tiny faces, arms, feet, and other parts from dolls. She jokes that she is actually a plastic surgeon. The result is somewhere between funny and creepy, and also genius. She makes celebrity portraits like Whoopi Goldberg, superheroes like Batman, cartoon characters like Bart Simpson, and sculptures that are more like classic Greek sculptures. She also makes headbands from mini doll heads. So Freya was originally a policewoman and a weapons instructor, and at age 28, she had a serious head-on car accident, which ended that career. One of the few parts of her body that worked well after the accident was her hands. You can hear a great interview with her on the podcast, This Wild Song. In that interview, she talks about how she thinks plastic toys are making it more difficult for children to use their imagination. And by making her assemblages, she hopes to get people to think about the consumerism and the ugliness of buying so many plastic toys. The next artist is Tom Deninger, who makes collage art from many small plastic items and especially toys. These pieces are optical illusions because from most angles and from up close, they don't really make sense. They look like a mishmash of nothing. But if you stand at a certain distance and at a specific angle, you will see incredibly detailed portraits or landscapes. One thing about Tom's work is that he doesn't only use toys that are in great condition, he can incorporate broken parts of toys as well. It's easy to find videos of Tom's work. If you search on the hashtag #TomDeininger, people love taking videos of his work to show how they look pretty much meaningless unless you're at the exact right angle and distance. Next, I'll talk about a company in Belgium called ecoBirdy that shreds unwanted plastic toys and makes them into kid-sized furniture. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, most recycling centers won't take plastic toys because plastic toys are usually a mixture of many types of plastic along with metal, fabric, and other contamination like batteries. But ecoBirdy invented a process to handle those issues. When they receive the toys, they bring them to a sheltered workshop where the workers remove things like batteries and textiles. They then take them to a recycling center where the shredding and color sorting is done by computerized machines. After shredding the plastic to pretty much pellet-sized, they mold items like chairs and other toys. ecoBirdy's products have a distinctive speckled appearance, and this is due to ecoBirdy's patented approach to recycling plastic, which they called ecophylline. The way that they bind together the plastic pellets means that they don't have to add new pigments or plastic, and this makes it significantly more eco-friendly than a lot of recycled plastic products, because most of those maybe only use 10 or 20% recycled plastic. And unfortunately, most of the item is actually made from new plastic, whereas ecoBirdy's process keeps the source material visible as the source of the color. ecoBirdy's founders are Vanessa Yuan and Joris van Briel. You can watch a TED Talk by Joris where he talks about the story of ecoBirdy and how it is an example of a circular economy. I'll finish today's episode with ideas for crafts that you can make from small plastic toys. Skynox shared a craft for making a bowl by melting plastic toys. This involves laying plastic toys in a metal bowl and then melting them with a heat gun into the bowl shape. Sky is a fan of Trashmagination, and I often see her liking my posts on Facebook, so shout out to Sky. The next idea is from the art supply store Blick. They show how you can transform plastic eggs, like from Easter egg hunts, into a Daruma doll, which is a good luck charm. A Daruma is a hollow egg-shaped doll, and usually it's painted red and black and looks like an older man with two big round eyes. When you first purchase or make a Daruma doll, both the eyes are blank white. And the tradition is that when you set a goal or you make a wish, you color in the left eye, and then you color in the right eye when the wish comes true. Rebecca Ferrand shares a craft called her Happy Meal Toy Wreath, where she hot glues plastic toys in a wreath shape. Kathy from the Crafty Chica takes plastic animals and repaints them to look like piñatas, and then she makes them into keychains or necklaces. This is a great craft activity to talk about pattern, line, and color, as well as learning about Mexican culture. Bev from Flamingo Toes shares a craft that she made called Party Animals, where she takes small plastic animal toys and she decorates them with shiny bling, and then she hangs them from a necklace chain. I will link to a video that is just full of craft ideas for plastic toys, where you can learn how to make bookends, a toothbrush holder, hooks, a clock, soap with embedded toys in them, a serving dish, and a lamp. Sometimes this means cutting the toy in half, like cutting a plastic dinosaur in half so that the head is on one bookend and the butt is on the other. And sometimes the toys are painted gold or white to match the decor. Thank you for listening. You can see more about these ideas on my Pinterest board about plastic toys. And if you're looking for how to creatively reuse other types of toys, some of the most popular Trashmagination episodes have been about creative reuse of stuffed toys, as well as how to make dollhouse furnitures from recycled materials. So be sure to check out those episodes. I will link to them in the show notes. What are some creative ways that you have used to reuse plastic toys? Please let me know at trashmagination@gmail.com. And let's all try our best not to buy any new plastic toys for the holidays this year. Until next time, may you see small plastic toys as a source of art in your life.